Good morning, everyone. Welcome to FBC Radio Live. We're back. It's Wednesday. That's right. I had to check the calendar a couple times to make sure that was true. So I never really know. I just kind of wake up and roll over to the seat and do the show. But no, it is Wednesday. It's hump day. That means we're in the middle of the last week of February. And Mike, February is just about over. We're almost into March, when things start to get just a little bit interesting in the NFL and some of these other leagues. So let's get into it, because we got a lot to talk about today. Mike, what's up, buddy?
La la la. Yeah, we definitely do have a lot to talk about in the world of professional sports today. Big sports story yesterday, which I'm sure that we'll touch on, that really goes beyond the realm of professional sports into athletes' well-being, and we're all glad to hear that a lot of the stuff that we've been hearing earlier has kind of come out with some good news to it, and that's definitely a good thing. But always a lot to deal with in the other worlds of professional sports as well. So let's hit it, buddy. Let's get to it.
Well, as Mike was referring to, if you weren't paying attention to the news yesterday, you might have not heard that Tiger Woods was in a pretty awful one-car wreck. This happened. Apparently, there's from what I've seen so far. Again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't seem to be any sort of alcohol or anything involved. I think this was just a horrific, unfortunate accident. And so he, obviously he had to go into the hospital and have emergency surgery on his legs. I believe he had a broken ankle. There's a lot of things going on, and like you said, I mean, the important thing is he's alive. And those who obviously have followed Tiger's career, and again, if you're listening to the show, I'm assuming you're a sports fan, and if you're a sports fan, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you know who Tiger Woods is, and you know his career arc, both on and off the course. So obviously this harkens back to that Thanksgiving Day incident that obviously put Tiger Woods in the news for things other than golf. This was not the case. Again, this was just an unfortunate circumstance where he was, his SUV rolled over, and if anyone saw the images, the car was pretty beat up. So yeah, I mean, we hope that, everything, he ends up pulling through. Obviously, when it comes to professional athletes, their careers on whatever course or court or whatever that they play, obviously always comes to the forefront. And maybe that's not, what's appropriate. But again, when you're a professional athlete, the way you're covered and viewed isn't necessarily always appropriate to begin with. You're put on a pedestal, whether good or bad, and again, the things that you do get magnified and everything like that. So, of course, people are now wondering, look, what's going to happen to Tiger Woods? I mean, this is a guy that, we're obviously old enough to have watched his entire rise, fall, and in a way return. And there was a time where, again, you don't have to be a golf fan to know the name Tiger Woods or Arnold Palmer or any of those guys, and know that, Tiger Woods was well on his way to being essentially the Tom Brady. Here we go. We're going to use that adjective now. We're going to start doing that instead of the Michael Jordan. He would have been, the Tom Brady in terms of just lapping the field in accomplishments. But as I mentioned before, the incident back in Thanksgiving and again, I should have looked this up before because I don't remember the actual year, but I know it was obviously several years back now. That incident obviously started just a bad run for Tiger. Obviously, personal issues that he did to himself, but also lingering injuries, whether it was the back, whether it was the hip, or whatever. And now you hear that these injuries that he suffered in this car accident, legs, knees, ankle. I mean, look, I I'm happy that he looks like he's survived this. It seems like he has a long road to go in terms of recovering, and not just in terms of sports, just to get back to a normal life. And I hate to say it, but I don't know how much we're ever going to see of Tiger Woods on the golf course again, and that sucks.
Yeah. It does. It absolutely sucks. I mean, anybody that's watched Tiger play, you and I have had the good fortune of being able to watch this guy from the time that he was a kid, from the time that we were kids, right up until adulthood, and watching him dominate a sport that really, I mean, had taken a large back seat to any type of major, marketing or any type of, major sports coverage. Tiger put golf on the map, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, and I know the Arnold Palmers of the world and the Jack Nicklauses of the world, the Sneeds, all those guys put golf into that type of stratosphere and made the game what it is today. No one is lessening their accomplishments, but Tiger Woods unified golf in a way that I don't think we've ever seen before in sports, and really made it a destination, a must watch every single time. When you knew that Tiger was going to be wearing that red Nike polo shirt, you knew you were in for a treat. You knew you were going to be watching the greatest of what he did compete. Now, did he always win? No. Sometimes it felt like it, but he didn't always win. But I think you make an interesting point about how much we're going to see of him on the golf course. I mean, let's not forget the 2017 DUI arrest, and I don't want to start bringing up a lot of what he's gone through in his personal life. You mentioned a lot of what happened with the Thanksgiving night incident and things of that nature. This was because of abuse of pain medication, and he had just been 5 weeks fresh off of spinal fusion surgery that was performed to alleviate a constant nerve pain in his lower back. So Tiger Woods is not someone that is he's not immune
healthy,
to any type of, exactly. It's not any type of, he's used to pain. He's been through it. He knows what it's like to rehab from surgeries and whatnot, and not getting any younger and having to go through this older. It's going to take a toll, and it is going to be a tough thing. We've seen decline in his ability to dominate the sport the way he once did. He was ranked 50th in the world this year. He had a disappointing 2020 season, I think, if you're looking at it objectively. But there was always that hope that you were going to catch lightning in a bottle, and the old Tiger was going to show up, and he was going to wow you and dazzle you the way only he could.
Well, that's what brought the viewers all the time.
Yeah,
and that's why he was such a great draw, was that it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, he went years without winning. I mean, again, there was a point in time where it wasn't if he was going to have the most majors. It was like, how many was he going to end with? And I mean, at a certain point, it was almost like it was inevitable. But again, I mean, this is the danger in trying to project and predict when it comes to anything sports related. You never really know what's going to happen. So what he did for those years doesn't necessarily mean he's going to do for the next 10 or 15, and we saw him struggle, and that was still part of the excitement, was to watch him try to get himself back. Now, again, obviously no one wants to see someone fail in terms of repeatedly being injured or anything like that, but I think people really latched on to the comeback story. Again, add in everything that happened, and after that, the negativity of a lot of that kind of died down a little bit. Everyone was like, you know what, we want Tiger to come back. We want to see him come back. And to this day, no matter, there's been plenty of great golfers over the last 20, 30 years. Sure, plenty of them. But no one's been able to grab the casual fan like Tiger Woods. And that's really what sports want to do. I mean, diehard fans are going to be there no matter what. I mean, there's a reason why Browns fans are still going to games despite getting kicked in the face every single season. Now, again, in the last couple of years, it's been pretty good for them relative to what they're used to, but diehard fans are going to be there regardless. What you want to do is you want to captivate the fringe fans, and that goes down to just individual teams in certain sports and in leagues in general. I mean, fans talk about the pink hat, and that's a term that we coined, or at least I'm taking credit for, not me specifically, but the region of New England and Boston. The pink hat fans, the bandwagon guys, like everyone, other fans kind of denounce them and say, oh, we got pink. Bring them on. That's what you want. I mean, if you're a league, if you're a sports fan, you want those casual fans to want to be a part of what's going on. And that's what Tiger Woods did with golf. And he continues to do with golf because, I mean, guess what? Golf doesn't get as much coverage without Tiger Woods. It's just the case. And there's plenty of great golfers out there. There's plenty of personalities out there, too. It's not for a lack of people. It's just golf. Tiger Woods is just an exception to the rule because of what he does and how he attracts the fans to the sport of golf. And yeah, so and again, I would consider myself a casual fan. I pay attention when Tiger Woods is playing. Other than that, I don't care. I couldn't care less. So.
Yeah, and I think you find a lot of people in that boat, and I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I mean, it really is all about your preference and who you want to see play. And I always loved seeing Tiger play. But the bottom line is, and I think we've both hit this, on the head, and we'll continue to hammer home this message. The most important thing is him being able to get up, to be able to walk again, him surviving. You hear medical experts, you hear the doctors that are treating him, you hear medical experts all over the country right now that are looking at the photos of his SUV, that are looking at the nature of the injuries that he had, and really telling everyone to count their blessings that Tiger Woods survived this as well as he did. Even though he has significant injuries, no one is downplaying what this guy's got to go through in terms of rehab, getting back on his feet. It's going to be a tough road for him, but the fact that he is conscious, the fact that he is able to converse. We're hearing reports this morning that he is awake, he is lucid in his hospital room, and he's doing much better. Okay.
Oh, and, sorry. I did not realize you could hear that. My apologies. I was pulling up an article, and the ad on the video started playing, and I didn't know you could hear that. So I'm glad I wasn't doing anything inappropriate, because that could have been embarrassing.
Well, what you do on your own time. But I'll get inside.
It's good to know. Note to self.
Absolutely. But no, I mean, all kidding aside, I mean, we definitely wish him the best in terms of a speedy recovery. You immediately saw yesterday guys like Phil Mickelson and Jack Nicklaus take to social media to wish him well. And I think, most people across the country, today have handled that well. And that's what they're wishing for. They're wishing for his recovery, and that he'll be okay. And hopefully, he'll make it through this as healthy and as mobile as possible. But it does make you wonder about the future of the way he's able to continue his golf career. And that is a shame because I still think he had more left in the tank, more to give, and maybe he still does. I mean, the one thing that I've learned is don't count out the people with that type of killer instinct and that type of drive, that competitive nature to be the best. These guys are cut from a different cloth, and Tiger is one of those athletes that's bigger than the sport that he plays in terms of his coverage, in terms of his impact. So we'll see what happens, but wishing him the best no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be keeping a sharp eye, as my good friend says, on the whole.
Very nice. I like that.
Yeah, doing what I can.
I like that.
I like that. It's good. Another well, excuse me. I was not expecting my voice to get so high pitched there. It was very curly without intentionally being curly there. Anyways, another story. Oh, okay. Another story. Interesting one that came out yesterday, or that came out the other day, or at least the attention of it started yesterday. Alex Smith had an interview, I believe, with GQ magazine, and he said some interesting things about his last season in Washington, and basically it amounted to him saying he wasn't wanted, or he again felt like he and actually, you know what, I'm going to read the quote because I have it right here in front of me, so why not? So And I'm jumping right into it. Let's see. They didn't see it, didn't want me there, didn't want me to be a part of it, didn't want me to be on the team, the roster, didn't want to give me a chance, Smith told the magazine. Mind you, it was a whole new regime. They came in. I'm like the leftovers, and I'm hurt, and I'm this liability. And then it goes on to say, heck no, they didn't want me there. At that point, as you can imagine, everything I'd been through, I couldn't have cared less about all that. Whether you like it or not, I'm giving this a go at this point. So from a a guy that I don't think anyone's ever heard speak, I mean, let alone say anything, I don't want to say controversial, but fiery as this. It's interesting. And you know what? I certainly understand where he's coming from. Or at least I feel like what he's saying isn't so far from the truth, because you look at the situation. Yeah, Ron Rivera comes in. They take over this regime. They draft. They had Haskins there. This whole new coaching staff. They wanted to figure out who was who and all that. And then you have Alex Smith, who the story's great. Everyone was rooting for, and I'm sure the staff and the front office and all that were rooting for Alex Smith, the person. But it makes sense that they were kind of, maybe they felt, burdened with him. And I'm not saying it was right, but I understand why they would. And again, I also understand why Alex Smith would be frustrated. And you know what? Good for him for speaking up, because I think we both feel like he still has some football left in him. And, who knows where that's going to be.
He proved it. He definitely proved it on the field this year that he's got some left in him. And look, I don't think there's anybody that didn't doubt the future of Alex Smith on a football field. I mean, there was a doubt about this guy's life at one point. And, had life-threatening injuries, being able to come back from that, be able to rebound, get back on his feet, and then the unthinkable and being able to get back on a football field and perform at a reasonable, at a pretty effective level. I wouldn't say an extremely high level, but I mean, an effective level nonetheless. I thought he played very well and still does have some football left in him. So it's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting to see what happens. Right now, Alex has a $24.4 million cap hit. Washington would save $13.8 million if they released him. And, you mentioned Ron Rivera. They're looking at all their options. There's no question about it. And at this point, it's hard to envision Alex Smith going back next year. I really think that in a lot of ways, they're committing to something new. We saw them sign Heineke to an extension. Whether he's going to be the guy or he's going to be a backup is going to be interesting to see. But with that type of a cap hit and that type of savings, I can imagine that Washington has that on the table. So what are they going to do moving forward? What are they going to do at the quarterback position? But where does Alex end up? Where does he end up? Does he have it in him to still be a starting quarterback, held up under the rigors of a 16-game season? And who knows, if the team gets hot into the playoffs, they're hoping that preseason games are going to be played this year. I don't imagine that they won't be. I think they probably will. So that's a lot to put on someone who has experienced the type of injuries that he's had. Granted, he's come through them okay, but you always have to be careful and mindful of that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. I'm rooting for Alex Smith. Just the fact that he was able to get back on the football field is remarkable. I would love to see him be able to write this next chapter moving forward and still prove that even after a debilitating injury, never underestimate the heart of an athlete, the heart of a champion. He goes out there and tries to do everything that he can. But this is going to be an interesting offseason for Washington as well. They really have some question marks to shore up on offense, because that defense is legitimate. That pass rush is one of the best in the NFC. If they can get someone in that they feel can be their quarterback of the future, this is a team to watch in 2021.
Yeah, and again, how many times or how many teams can you say that about? You could say that about a lot of teams, and that kind of speaks to the whole. Excuse me. Quarterback is the most important position in the league, and it doesn't matter what you have. At the end of the day, if you don't have a quarterback, well, you don't really got squat. So we'll see what happens with Washington.
Ian, haven't you been paying attention the last month or so? It's everybody around the quarterback. Yeah. It's the coaching staff. It's choosing where you want to go. It's the weapons with the Z. Haven't you been paying attention? That's what the social media keyboard warriors are telling everybody. I mean, they know everything.
I'm trying not to pay attention to those folks. Actually, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf, not a new leaf.
Smart.
I
Yep.
lied. That's not going to last. I don't want. I don't want to set a standard too high that I'm not even going to be able to fulfill it. Because eventually something's going to suck me back into it. Eventually, but yeah, it's funny. It's the quarterback's the most important position, unless it's Tom Brady. Then he's just kind of a guy. But hey, whatever. I'm still upset, Mike, that I believed online that WandaVision was going to be an hour long. You don't understand how upset I am about that. Because they have a great way of ending every episode. A please stand by image pops up. And it's kind of like son of a, hey, it's over. We got to wait till next week. So that stinks to begin with. Like, I hate seeing that, just like any show that ends. But what sucks is when it happens 30 minutes before you expect it to happen, and that was a shot to the gut. I'll tell you that much. I thought I was gonna get double the Wanda time, but it just didn't work out. You know another thing too, Mike, about the show, and I hate to admit it because it's not that I didn't know. Like I want to try to distinguish between shock and awe, finding out something that you had no idea was true, and just realizing something that I think I realized but didn't realize at the same time, and that is, the actress who plays Wanda is the Olsen twins' younger sister. Now, again, I was surprised at how many people out there also had this epiphany of sorts, I guess. Sudden realization, right? And again, I was one of them, and I'm ashamed to admit it because I should know this. And for the longest time, of all the times I've watched, I've watched these Marvel movies so many times. I've seen her so many times in all these movies, and yet it never dawned on me. And there was always this familiar feeling. And I apologize. I feel like if you're watching on camera, I feel like I have this huge sneeze coming on, and I'm trying to stop and not look like it wasn't a pick, it was a scratch. Of all these,
it wasn't
times,
a pick.
It wasn't
no
a pick. I swear, it's driving me nuts right now, and I all I want to do all I want to do right now is dig deep. But since I'm on camera, I'm gonna avoid that for the time being. But all the times I've watched these movies, I've watched the show, all these episodes, I was like, what's so familiar? There's something very familiar about her. Because, of course, she has some physical characteristics that resemble her older, sisters. And it just kind of dawned on me. And I was just like, oh, my God, I am an idiot. How did I not realize this? So, spoiler, Mike, if you didn't realize it, now you know. One of the Olsen twins sisters
absolutely.
is actually a kind of a bigger star now than they are. As crazy as
that's it. That is absolutely true, and it really is. I did know that before going in. I had seen Elizabeth Olsen in a couple of other movies and work that she had done, and I remember reading about the fact that she was indeed the younger sister of the Olsen twins. So that is interesting. I know a lot of people. I'm still seeing a lot of people that don't know it or that are just finding it out. So you're in good company. It's not like you're by far the only one in the country that didn't know that. I think a lot of people are coming to that realization. But I'm looking forward to binge watching WandaVision. Everybody keeps telling me great things about it. Like you said, not only you but our guys over at the Pat's Pulpit, Pat Lane and Taylor Kyles are really big fans of the show, and they keep telling me I got to check it out. Mm-hmm. I think Pat at one point told me you got to get your head out of Cobra Kai, and that's probably a good idea.
You're on rewatch number
and he's
27?
A fan. And he's a fan. I mean, it's not like he doesn't, he knows what's up. But at the same time, no, it's good to. Variety is the spice of life, buddy. You gotta switch it up a little bit. So that'll be my next indulgence.
Well, I'm telling you, it's enjoyable, and like I said, it's fun. It's fun on a lot of levels. There's a serious story to it. There's a fun history of television. There's a lot of good stuff to it, and again. I highly recommend it. Once you finally get out of your gi, and realize that,
Finally.
yeah, finally, once you
Oh, you mean
finally
I
get
can't
on your
watch the?
gi.
You mean I can't watch the show wearing the gi? I mean, I can still do that. I mean,
No,
it
no.
doesn't. Yeah.
I mean, you could, but I mean, it is kind of good to wash your clothes every so often, Mike. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, I'm coming up on a month, so I think that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah. There you go. You're always good for a lot of dirty laundry, my friend. And just wait until I air all of that at some point here. How shocked would you be? And this is kind of, I know the answer. I know the answer to this one. How shocked would you be if a 43, perhaps a 44, soon to be 44-year-old Tom Brady received a contract extension?
How shocked would I be?
Yeah.
Probably on a shock, meter, maybe like a 1 to 5%. I think that it's almost a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
It's a great way to be able to, extend the cap flexibility. To me, I mean, it's a no brainer. I don't see how they wouldn't be willing to do it. I'm sensing that it's in the news right now, and I'm missing this that he's getting a contract extension.
Well,
I haven't actually.
Well, look, I'm gonna say this. I've written and I've talked about it already, not on this show, but I do a lot of talking, so some people don't always hear it, but I do talk. The Bucks have they're not in a terrible cap situation. They're certainly worse, especially when you look around the league and you see like the Saints are like negative 127 million. I mean, obviously that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not too much. But they have some pretty big key free agents: Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, Levante David, Shaquille Barrett. A lot of big name guys, and not a lot of money to sign all of them. So, naturally, where do you find money? How can you find money? Because that's what you want to do. You can find money somewhere. Not all the time, and it doesn't always work out. Generally, this leads to borrowing from the future. Something that Jason Light, the Bucks GM, has mentioned in the past that they don't necessarily like to do. Some teams do, some teams don't. It all depends on how you want to build your team. But so luckily for the Bucks, they haven't had to deal with a lot of dead cap, a lot of carryover. We know the Patriots have had to deal with that, obviously with the Brady money last year and some other contracts. This is an opportunity for the Bucks to take a page out of the Patriots book. Another one, because they've taken a few of them actually. This one comes in the term of cap management, and this is something I'm sure Tom would be more than willing to do. And this isn't just a false contract extension. I actually believe that he's going to play you obviously more. I think more than just next season, barring anything unforeseen. He's going to play beyond next year, which means, well, he's going to need a contract beyond next year, and I think the Bucks are willing to do that. So, and what that can do is obviously create some more money available for this year, and that's really the key thing here, is trying to bring back as much of this team as possible. And in order to do that, you're going to have to create a little bit of extra space. And again, that to me, all signs point to a Tom Brady extension. You can move a little bit of money around, and this is stuff he's done in New England for years, and it's allowed the Patriots to add and retain players or build and fill in pieces and holes that they were otherwise missing heading into whatever season it was at the time. So and plus, Jason Light today apparently said, or he said yesterday, that we'd like to keep this going, at referencing Tom Brady and an extension. And look, it makes sense. I mean, again, is there any indication from you or from anyone or anything that we've seen that Tom has any plans to retire next season? I don't think so.
Not that I can see.
Yeah, I think he's looking at 45 and saying, well, I want to look at that in the rearview mirror and say, hey, why not 47? Why not 48? Because remember, folks, everyone's like, oh, you should just retire. The longer he plays and the better he plays, it's just it's gold for TB12, the business. I mean, I know that's not all the motivation. You can't, trust me, you cannot motivate yourself enough by just that to get up and go through a rigorous football season like Tom Brady does. There's a psychotic part to his head that is completely devoted to football. So You can't just do this for the betterment of your future business.
Right.
But it helps because everyone out there is like, wow. Well, not really, because people are crazy and they have really no idea what they're talking about when it comes to Brady. But most sane and reasonable people will sit there and say, wow, what Tom Brady is doing at age 43 and 44 and so on and so forth, like, maybe there is something to TB12. You know, maybe there is something to his philosophy. And look, I think there is. You know, everyone, you know, who'll point to TB12 and say, oh, snake oil this, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. They're confusing some of Alex Guerrero's past dealings with the current product. And basically what the current product is it's basically just, it's based on eating healthy and the, you know, elasticity, basically elongating the muscles. And what that does is, he likes to call it prehab, preventing injuries. And these are things that, like, when you take a fall or take a tumble, if your muscles are elongated and elastic and able to stretch and contort and move and not be tight, you're going to avoid major injuries, especially tissue injuries, especially muscle injuries, stuff like that. When you're not, that's why you stretch, you loosen up. If you're not, if you're bulky, if you're this, if you're that, if you move the wrong way, your body's not capable to withstand that type of impact. Why do you think Tom is as healthy relative to what any other quarterback would be playing at his age right now? And trust me, there's not many that you can point to, so you have to go back to players that are in their late 30s that are struggling because their bodies are essentially falling apart, and Tom looks like he's getting younger. So, hey, the more he plays, the better it is for TB12. Hell, you know what, Mike? I might have to go on TB12. I gotta whip myself into shape. Maybe I'll do that.
That's right. Absolutely. I think you should. And I think, you know what, I'll do it along with you. The way the shape I'm in, they can donate my body to science fiction. Yeah, but in any case,
we'll film this, by the way. This will be a feature on FPC Radio Live. Checking in with Mike.
Yeah, just don't expect me to cop this off with the triple Lindy, folks. No, even in good shape, I still can't do that. Yeah. But in any case, nobody can. It's too dangerous, you know. No, in any case, folks, I do agree with what you're saying on TB12. I think there's something to it. We know a good, friend of ours. I'm not going to, start, naming names over here, but good friend of ours, an ex, military, veteran that's, had, a good, distinguished career. Yep, absolutely. Hold up the book.
TB12 method, folks.
Absolutely. I have the book as well. Yep, I have the book as well.
It's big.
Yeah,
it's big.
Definitely. Yes, it is.
Tom Brady's face
good. A lot of information, covering that book. A lot of recipes, things of that nature. A lot of things that people wouldn't believe. It's not just the story of the TB12 method. It really tells you how to follow it. But in terms of pliability, in terms of workouts and things of that nature, again, a good friend of ours that is an ex-military vet that, spent years serving the country, a lot of physicality involved in what he did for the military, said that the workouts that he's done and did, do for with TB12 for a short period of time really helped him and in ways that nothing he's ever done helped him before. So, there is definitely something to it. And you look at Brady playing at such a high level at 43, soon to be 44. No indications that 45 is going to be it now. I mean, we thought that we had arrived at the number that he was going to, call it quits in 2 years, and 45, he's going to hang it up. He looks like he wants to keep going, and as long as he can. I haven't seen any indications that he's ready to fall off that proverbial cliff. So if he keeps going and he keeps doing what he's doing, then he will need an extension, and it just makes sense that Tampa Bay would be doing that. But I also thought you made an interesting point that he's bringing a little Foxborough flair down there with him. Don't kid yourself. It's not just what he did on the field. Tom Brady took significant notes into how this team up here in Foxborough did their business from a organizational standpoint as well. And he's bringing a little bit of that down with him as well. So good for Tom. I hope it works out for him. Good for the Bucs because they're giving him a great home down there. And he's got the opportunity to compete for the next few years with the team that he has around him. And it's good to see that they're buying into keeping that team together as long as they possibly can and really extending the life of this possible budding who knows, maybe a budding dynasty down there in
Ooh,
Tampa
did
Bay.
you just
Who
use the
knows?
D word?
I
Ooh.
might have. You never
Folks,
ever
mark it
know.
down.
Possible.
9/27, February 24th.
Possible. But
Well,
hey,
hey,
you know
look.
what? No one
If
thought. No one thought. I seem to recall somebody mumbling, through a TV show one time, going, "He'll never get to another Super
yeah,
Bowl." We all know who I'm talking about.
yeah.
Of course,
Well,
we don't have to name names, but
no,
in any
we don't have
case,
to name names, but we know.
I do recall that.
Hey,
And
look.
since then, he's won 3, and he's won 4. Excuse me, won 3 with the Patriots, 1 with the Bucks, and I would not count Tom Brady out of anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we sit here and laugh at every team. The Chiefs did it. The Eagles have done it. The Seahawks have done it. Coincidentally, their budding dynasties all got stomped out by Tom Brady-led teams. But if there's any guy I'm going to hitch my bet to, or my life to, when it comes to potential dynastic run, it's Tom Brady. Because guess what? He's in the middle of one himself right now. He's been to 5 of the last 7 Super Bowls. He's won 4 of them. Again, I mean, 4 of the last 5. I mean, he went to 3 in a row. And to me, there's a couple, and we're speaking specifically about football because I think dynasties are defined differently in each sport. The dynasty conversation begins, I think there's a couple requirements. In football, there has to be a 3 Super Bowl win stretch at some point. And whether that's 3 in 5 years, 3 in 6 years, there has to be more than 2. But there also, in my opinion, there has to be a back-to-back. And not just a back-to-back appearance. There has to be a back-to-back victory. Because that, to me, really starts to define a dynasty. Because that means you've successfully gone and defended your title at least once. It's not easy, as we know. Patriots are the last team to do it. Not too many other teams have done it. But in order to be considered any sort of dynasty, in my opinion, there has to be a back-to-back there. And look, if you're going to ask me right now, who do I think is going to win the Super Bowl next year? Well, I mean, based on what we know now, I'm going to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because I was saying before the playoff run this year that they're probably going to be better next year. And that is regardless of who comes and who goes. I happen to think that Chris Godwin will not be on this team next year. I think some team's going to end up paying him too much money that the Bucs probably want him back. I'm sure they want him back. I'm sure Chris Godwin wants to be back. But this is the bill that comes when you win championships. Other teams go out and pay your best players. Regardless of that, I still think the Bucs are I don't want to say easily because I don't want to discount any of these other teams, but
you see, folks, when we get better special effects right now, I can picture right behind Ian the image of Emperor Palpatine just kind of like creeping right over his shoulder, and all of a sudden it morphs into the image of Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
when you mention Chris Godwin.
Well, and look, I mean, Godwin's a great player. I think, and I kind of did a not a very in-depth piece, but more of a casual, what do I think's going to happen with some of these key free agents? And Chris Godwin's a guy I don't think's going to be back. Same with Shaq Barrett, 2-time Super Bowl champion. That guy's going to get paid, and I don't blame him. I mean, they deserve it. But the Bucs are going to the Bucs are going to be able to overcome the absence of Godwin. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but they have the players on the roster. I think that they're going to add, again, a little bit more Patriots flavor to that mix in the offseason with the signing of James White. But if there's any team capable of it, and it's not, if the Bucs have this long, no, clearly they don't have this long history of success. But Tom Brady does. So if you're going to ask me, well, who's going to win? Well, the Bucs are, because they have Tom Brady. Well, what if they beat the Chiefs? Well, the Bucs, because guess what? Tom Brady owned Patrick Mahomes, especially in the playoffs. We talked about it after the Super Bowl. He's beat him head to head on the 2 highest possible stages that they could have competed in the playoffs in the last 3 years. And what everyone believes is Patrick Mahomes prime starter, whatever, he's still being outplayed by a 43-year-old quarterback. So, if I had to make a bet, easily, I'll bet Tom Brady goes back-to-back next year. And then you can start talking about the discussion. I mean, maybe we get to the D part, like the DY now. Maybe if they win next year, NAS, DYNAS. I should think that through more before I say anything. But the point is, you can't truly get to that discussion and have a legitimate discussion, in my opinion, until you at least win 2, and preferably back-to-back at some point. And again, when it comes to calling yourself a dynasty, I think 3 is the magic number in a 4 to 7 year period, or 3 to 7 year period. Obviously, you can win 3 in a row, and I think that would qualify. So, but that's how I view it.
I think I view it the same way. I mean, you know what? As the great Ric Flair says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And to give the credit to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they went out and they beat who was the man at the time. They were the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. They had everything going for them. Tampa Bay went out there and they beat them.
Overcame so many great incomplete passes, though. You got to give Tampa Bay credit for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep, it really is amazing that. One of them was an incomplete pass, was a play of the year. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's that makes perfect sense. But in any case, folks, no, I mean, right now, until someone proves that they're going to be able to topple the champions, I mean, who are you going to go with? I'm always going to go with the defending champs, and I'm going to go with Tom Brady in this situation until someone proves that he can't do it anymore. And again, that's been a futile enterprise for the last 17 years. I'll take off 3 because maybe at the beginning of Brady's career, people weren't trying to gun for him the way they are now, but everybody seems to be trying to, knock him off his pedestal, and he's still there. And I don't see him moving. I don't see him going anywhere. So until proven otherwise, I'm with you. I'm going with the Bucs right now.
Hey, now you speak my language here.
Yeah, there we go. And hopefully, if it does us any good, we get a Patriots-Bucs Super Bowl because that would just be
a
fantastic.
Preview this year. Could be a preview this year.
Yeah.
Don't kid yourself. There is the Buccaneers will visit Gillette Stadium in New England, and that is the definition of the word happening, folks.
Yeah.
You want to talk about big
a
regular
ticket.
Season games?
Talk about a hot ticket.
That'll be a hot ticket.
Well, because again, you mentioned preseason games earlier, and I'm with you too. I would imagine that the goal for next season right now is to have things normal. I mean, that's how the NFL operates. They go in with a very lofty goal, and they try to accomplish it. And I feel like, there's certainly far more optimism in terms of getting full stadium in, and we talked about it before, that this Hall of Fame game, which is a preseason game, that happens this year to induct 2 different Hall of Fame classes. I think ideally and very, very, I guess a very perfect scenario would be to have the first full event, normal quote unquote event, for any of these sports to be, the NFL kicking off next season. So, it'll be fun to see. And, hopefully we do get a full season, and hopefully we do get another, Tom Brady, kick in the face of all the hater seasons. And, for us personally, hopefully it ends with the Patriots defeating the Bucs in the Super Bowl and Tom Brady throwing like 8 touchdowns. That's what I want.
Absolutely.
I want 85 to 84. I've upped it. I did say 55 to 54, but I want more. I want 85 to 84. I want Tom Brady to throw 10 touchdowns. I'm upping it already. I can't help it.
As that touchdown total starts to increase this year, you're going to see Ian sitting on his couch, a la Vince McMahon. Open him up! I can definitely see that.
Look, yeah. I did quite a job of predicting Tom Brady's season this year. Actually, did a hell of a job. Almost to the on the actual dot of everything that he did. I was just 2 touchdown passes short of that. So, and 1 MVP short. I did say he was going to win the MVP prior to the season. Unfortunately, he didn't get a vote. But again, valuable, we can have another discussion. We could talk about Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady another day. Maybe we'll do that with Sap. I think he's going to join us here in the next couple of days here to wind up the week. But we do have to close up today, though, Mike. We've already gone through our 45 minutes or so of yapping and talking. Yeah,
that was pretty quick. Yeah.
Hey, when you're having fun, my friend. But no, we will be back to close out the week. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., Friday, 9 a.m., one of those 2 days, we're going to have John Sapichetti on. We'll probably talk. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot. Maybe Tiger Woods will come up again. So give us a follow on Twitter, at FPC Radio Live. I'm at IGLEN31. My man Mike is at MDABATEFPC. 5 o'clock today. Tune in right here on Twitter, on Twitch, on our YouTube channel, on FPC Radio. You can download the app. Catch Dylan and Ross Safe Sports. And you know what? Happy birthday, belated birthday to one of the co-hosts, Dylan Sanders, yesterday. Youngin, my friend. 23, I believe I saw was the post. So happy birthday to you.
That's terrible. That's too bad. That is really, really not. All kidding aside, happy birthday, young man. Yes. Enjoy the youth while you can because it goes by in the blink of an eye. But bright future ahead for that young man. Great stuff. He and Ross put on a great show. Check it out tonight, folks.
Before you know it, your youngness will be off into the night, my friend. Hey, have a good day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.